basics are the same for every album. So you need 3 pieces of chipboard. You need a front and a back and a spine. Now I've measured these to, I'm making this little album which a friend of mine, Ali Palmer, has taught me, but I wanted to make a hard cover for it. So the way you do this is you measure your spine. So you've got a piece that is, mine is about 1/4 of an inch bigger than my spine all the way around. You then also measure your front pages, and I've allowed 1/2 an inch on all 3 sides. So that's how I've come up with the measurements for my chipboard. I've also then measured the cardstock that I want to put behind my spine and the cardstock that's going to go on the front to cover it. And I've allowed extra on each of those for a wrap around the side and the front. So once you've got those bits, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to red tape all of your chipboard, because you want this to stick really, really well. So once you've got your 3 bits, you need to lay them out. And I like to use my grid paper for that. But you also need a bit like this. Now this is some offcuts, and because the Greyboard I'm using is not very thick, I've laid 3 pieces together just to create a wedge so you can space them properly. So what you do, take your first piece of cards, your cover, okay, and pop that down. And then you're going to pop your hinge onto the centre of this one, okay? With a pencil, because this bit isn't going to be seen, lightly mark so you know where it's going to be inside that, okay? Then measure where roughly where your next piece is going to come. So put your wedge in. Just do it that way. Making sure it's straight. And again, I tend to just mark the top and bottom corner because I know where that is going to be. And then I can do the other side. Making sure it's straight. Top and bottom corner, okay? Then what I'm going to do is add on my other pieces of cardstock. Now I'm just using Very Vanilla, and I want my cardstock to wrap the spine to wrap around the front slightly. So I'm going to lay this on kind of up to where the second piece joins. Because when I measured it, I allowed the extra. If I lift this up, you'll be able to see with the pokey tool. I allowed that there is that much extra behind it. So I can then lay this piece on as well, down that line. And then I know by lining this up to there that it's going to be in the right place. I'm just going to position this one back in the centre. Just double check everything. If you do it too tight, your spine will crack. So you really do need to make sure that when you do this, you have that kind of 1/8 of an inch gap. First thing I'm going to do is take my red tape off and stick down my centre panel. I just push that down with my bone folder. It does make the red tape easier to take off. Another top tip, if you just put your red tape down on the table, it will all stick to each other and you won't have it sticking to your hands, and it makes it much easier. Right, I'm going to line this one up in the centre. Oops. And I'm keeping within my little lines. Whoops, itchy elbow. Now I'm going to red tape down this inside line, inside this line and to the edge. So I'm going to go in a straight line from one end to the other. And right at the edge as well, because obviously you don't want that lifting on the outside of your cover. Turn it round, and I'm going to do the same the other side, making sure I've got a decent gap. If you can hear the gnawing in the background, I apologise. Dolly has found a bone and is thoroughly enjoying it. Right, the next thing to do is to take off one side of the red tape and add in, oops, not doing that, add in your next piece of cardstock. I find using grid paper really handy for this because I can line it up along a line, and I know it's going to be quite straight then. Right, there you go. So now that one's down, I can double check that that's okay all the way along, and I can add in, just press this all down. As you can see, my Greyboard isn't clean. It's Greyboard I've used, perhaps I might have stamped over it or used it if I was stamping something small. Line it up again, making sure that the top and the bottom are level with the other one. There you go. Right, I'm going to turn it round and I'm going to do the same on the other side. Just really press those down so they're really stuck well. The next thing to do is with your bone folder is to lightly go round all four sides. You can see, I don't know if you can see, it's done that. Then gently, using your bone folder, help bend the cardstock up on all four sides. Don't be too rough with it, or you might find you split it. You work it gently, it may take a bit more time, but it will go. The next thing I like to do are what I call hospital corners. I know a lot of people cut this extra out. I don't like to. I like to do hospital corners. So I bend my corner in, and using my bone folder, I flatten this down. Now you can just stick those down. I'm going to use red tape for quickness. You could use glue if you wanted to. Just going to red tape across each corner. Just press those down so they're stuck really well. Lift your red tape off. Just press your corners down. So then we're going to add red tape all round the edges, okay? Right. Press down your red tape with your bone folder. Make sure it's really stuck well down. And then I always do the top and then the bottom and then the sides. So starting at the top, take your red tape up and from the middle, gently ease it, gently being the appropriate word or you'll end up with a split. Gently ease it down. And using the side of your bone folder, go in to the creases where your gaps are, and this will just help you when you come to bend the album up. Right, on the sides, again, bend it up. So they are pressed down really well now. Then gently, where you folded these, you can fold your cover up really gently. Okay, and that is the basis for your cover for your album. What you would then do is, as you can see, my spine covers, I've allowed extra enough so that it goes over and comes in. So I would then measure a piece of cardstock once this is stuck in to fit here, and the same here. If you wanted to put ribbon on the outside of your album, so if you wanted ribbon coming down here, now is the time to do it. Let's add some nice trim to this. So if I was going to add this at this stage, I would stick it inside and then take it all the way down the edge and then stick it on the inside again. And this needs to be done before you add your inside bits in and your hinge. When you come to stick your album in that you've made on this kind of album, it's got red tape all down there, whereas normally you would stick a hinge system in here, which is what you do with the Rosie album.